everyone, Caitlin Leopold, your Anytime Fitness registered dietitian. And today we are on part 9 of our webinar series, and I wanted to talk about ingredients. So it's definitely important in today's society, right, as we consume more processed and packaged foods, that we know some of these specific ingredients to look out for and what essentially they are and where a lot of them come from and the impact they have on our body. So we're going to talk about them today. So with that being said, the label is one of the most important tools, right, we can use to eat healthy, okay? So we talked about the specifics of the food labels in our previous one, right? We talked about the food label as a whole, and again, the specifics to look out for there. So today we're just going to talk a little bit more about the ingredients listed and what those do for us. So the ingredients listed on the food label list the ingredients of a food in descending order of predominance by weight. So what that means, right, the first ingredient listed makes up that largest portion of the ingredients in that food. So for example, if that first ingredient is sugar listed, then the food contains more sugar than anything else. So again, that first ingredient listed is the most abundant thing in that product. And then it goes down by descending order of what's in that product. So we will, again, be going through the specifics of what certain ingredients are, but I just wanted to show some of these products first, and we'll be actually be going through more at the end. But just looking at this here, we got yogurt. So most often, and this is unflavored Chobani is the one in the container. Excuse me. So looking at that, right, all that's in there is pasteurized non-fat milk and cream. So looking at that, me as a registered dietitian, I'm like, okay, both of those things, I know what they are, and it's a pretty clean product in a sense. So general rule that I kind of use is aim for about 10 ingredients or less, and most often things that we know what they are. The one to the left of that on that yogurt container is actually the same brand, just actually flavored versus your unflavored. So again, that first ingredient being that non-fat milk. So again, that's the most abundant thing in that product. By descending order, then it has cane sugar, which would be the second most abundant thing in that product. Water, fruit pectin, natural flavors, vanilla extract, guar gum, lemon juice concentrate would be the last one. So just looking at these products, that's why I'm a huge advocate of buying unflavored products and then essentially adding your own flavors, just because as you can see, I mean, sugar is the second ingredient already there. Chips Ahoy ingredients, I added this just because, for example, right, I said 10 ingredients or less, so it already does have a lot of ingredients. The first ingredient being unbleached enriched flour. So anytime we buy a whole grain product, the first thing listed should actually say whole. So I already know looking at this that it's technically not a whole grain product because the first ingredient's unbleached enriched, which are terms, again, we kind of want to not aim for. And then just going down the list, right, we're getting a lot of, we have sugar, we have cocoa butter in there, partially hydrogenated cottonseed oil, high fructose corn syrup, artificial and natural flavors. So we're getting a lot of terms already in there that we should avoid. So again, just if you can, right, make our own cookies versus buying a lot of processed packaged things. So again, we're going to talk about specific ingredients. And then the bottom one I just added, because this is actually a whole grain pasta, whole grain noodle. So again, that first and only ingredient, right, is whole grain durum wheat flour. So again, a pretty clean product there. So the following slides are ingredients we're going to go over and keep an eye out for. So some of them are better for us than others in a sense, but I will kind of just go through some of these. The first one being carrageenan. So carrageenan is actually an additive made from seaweed. It's typically used as a thickener in a lot of your products, such as your milk substitutes, ice cream, your jelly, some milk products, infant formula, and even cottage cheese. It does have an impact in a large amount on our body. So this is if we're having it in a lot of food products. If you do, it may cause some intestinal discomfort, as well as some possible intestinal lacerations, and it has been linked to actually inflammation in the body. So definitely, if you consume carrageenan in large amounts, it's definitely something to look out for there. Natural and artificial flavors. So they are both added to foods to make them taste better. With both of these, if you have any allergies, vegan or even vegetarian, I would kind of avoid both of these. But it's made, as you can see, from your animals, glutamates, or even allergens. And then your artificial flavors, the main difference is it's just created in a laboratory versus coming from an animal. But as you can see by artificial flavors, some animal studies have found that artificial flavoring actually may be toxic to our bone marrow. So again, any of these in larger amounts, I would definitely take a look out for. Caramel coloring. So caramel coloring is a common one if you're an ingredient reader. Let me just flip my page. So caramel coloring is made by reacting sugars with ammonia and sulfates under that high pressure and high temperatures. It's typically used, again, to color your sodas. So our pops here, beer, sauces, baked goods, and some other products. The thing about caramel coloring, it, as you can read by that, it says it does nothing for our body. It's literally only in these products to improve the appearance of that food. So it's there to kind of make some of those foods a brown color in a sense that weren't necessarily brown before. In some animal studies, it did result in possible lung, liver, or thyroid cancer in that lab mice or rats. So again, it could be possibly carcinogenic for us long term. It hasn't been studied necessarily in humans, but that's what it starts out as in animal studies, right? So again, long-term use could cause those possible things in us. So it's definitely one to avoid if possible. MSG or MSG-like ingredients. So you've most likely heard about this one before. It's also listed sometimes as your monosodium glutamate. It is added to foods to make them taste better. It adds that umami flavor. So that umami, essentially what that means is it's like a savory flavor. It's commonly found in your frozen meals, even your chips, dressings, soups, rice, and pasta mixes. So as you can see, it has been linked actually to headaches, even possible obesity, depression, and even some mental disorders. So again, definitely one to avoid if possible. Nitrates and nitrites. It's used as a preservative in processed meats. More and more products, actually, I've noticed this too. They actually label a lot of our meats now as nitrate and nitrite free because, as you can see, it has been known to be possibly carcinogenic as well. So with that being said, that's why I think a lot of companies have leaned towards even labeling nitrate and nitrate free. Next is TBHQ. So this is listed in some oils because, as you can see, it keeps oils from going bad, in a sense. That's what rancid means. It is actually a petroleum derivative that, with ingestion in large doses, can cause possible nausea, delirium, and even ringing in the ears. It actually has been linked to vision disturbances, even liver enlargement, childhood behavior problems, stomach cancer, and most recently affecting and even causing some food allergies. So again, this one I definitely say avoid because, as you can see, definitely in large doses can cause a lot of issues in our bodies. So as you can see, it even promotes those allergies to even tree nuts, milk, eggs, wheat, and shellfish. So a lot of the major allergies there. More and more research shows that it can be linked to that TBHQ, which again is found in some of your oils. So that's why I'm a huge advocate of, even if you buy, avocado oil or vegetable oils, definitely just read a lot of your ingredients for that. Calcium propionate is a preservative that prevents the growth of mold and bacteria in foods. It's commonly found in things such as your croutons, your breads, buns, rolls, and a lot of your baked goods. It is considered a possible safer preservative, but some research published has linked it to possible irritability, restlessness, inattention and sleep disturbances in children. And long-term consumption has been linked to even possible damage to our stomach lining and possibly inducing our risk for ulcers. So again, a lot of these, the biggest issue is long-term and heavy consumption of a lot of these. So that's why I'm a huge advocate of, again, clean eating and limiting our processed and packaged foods for a lot of these reasons, because a lot of these ingredients long-term can cause some further issues in our body. Next, we are going to be talking about BHT and BHA. Just like your TBHQ, it's there to prevent our oils from going bad. Some studies have shown them to be, again, those carcinogenic properties, so meaning it can increase our risk for getting cancer. It has been shown even to affect the signaling from our gut to the brain, which actually tells us to stop eating. So, right, if it turns that off, it could contribute to, right, overeating and even obesity. So again, definitely watching that and reading your ingredients when we're looking at our cooking oils. These next ones aren't necessarily super bad for us. I'm just going to talk to them. A lot of these are common. Maltodextrin is an easily digestible carbohydrate. As you can see, it's made from rice, corn, or potato starch, and is typically used as a thickener or a filler in anything from canned fruit to granola. It can possibly affect our gut bacteria as well. So again, we do have our natural flora, which would be our good bacteria in our gut, and it can possibly affect that. And right, with that less good bacteria in our gut, it can increase our risk of disease because it actually can affect our immune system. So that's why it's definitely important to consume regular probiotics as well. Inulin, which is a form of soluble fiber found naturally in many foods, such as your bananas, leeks, artichokes, asparagus, wheats, and onions. So again, this one's actually not too bad. It's typically added to foods to give them more fiber. So I kind of say a lot of times this is found in your food items that kind of add more fiber than what they're typically supposed to have. So anything that you'd think wouldn't have a lot of fiber and they claim to be a good source of fiber or a lot of that stuff, they add inulin to get a little bit more of it. So that good fiber helps actually promote that healthy bacteria in our digestive system, right? And the more fiber we have definitely aids with proper digestion and keeping everything moving properly within our body. Xanthan and guar gum. So this is a common one. It is used as an emulsifier to help ingredients blend together a little bit better, as well as used as a thickener. So it's found in your salad dressings, sauces, ice cream, baked goods, yogurt, soup, even your almond or coconut milk and toothpaste. So this one is safe in small doses, but it possibly can cause intestinal discomfort if in large doses and large amounts. As you can see, it may cause issues like bloating and gas in people that do have sensitive digestive systems. So the biggest thing, I'm going to go through some examples here. But the biggest thing after going through this list is, as I said, a general rule is just to aim for 10 ingredients or less and just be more aware of what's in our food item. Most often, I definitely, again, I want to eat things that I know what they are in my food and minimally processed foods. It's kind of just a general rule, and definitely kind of look out for the things that I listed that could cause issues long term. I usually kind of tell my clients as well, if you eat a food item, right, and you feel like it doesn't sit well with you, the first thing I say is, hey, go back to the food ingredients because it actually may be one of these that you're reacting to. So just general rule, just be more aware about our food choices and more aware about the ingredients that we're consuming. So examples that I wanted to put in here is definitely peanut butter. So most commonly, I think, right, the most, when we think of peanut butter, right, what should be the ingredients? This goes with almond butter or cashew butter too, whatever you consume, right? The most common ingredient should be peanuts, right? That should be one of the only things in there. So I put Jif on here actually because, right, most Americans consume this one. As you can see, right, the first ingredient is the most abundant thing, and then in descending order. But your Jif creamy peanut butter, right, is made from roasted peanuts and sugar. So again, those being the most abundant thing, sugar is right there with peanuts. Contains 2% or less of molasses, more sugar, fully hydrogenated vegetable oils, and mono and diglycerides and salt. So again, it kind of reaches the 10 ingredients or less, but as you can see, it has a lot of added sugars in there versus Smucker's that I put on here. Again, the only ingredients is peanuts and contains 1% or less of salt. So Smucker's is a natural peanut butter brand I recommend. I've been on a kick with a brand called Crazy Richards. Same concept. The only ingredients in Crazy Richards is peanuts. So that's again something that you want to aim for, especially in our nut butters, is the natural ones. So general rule, if you're like, hey, you know, Caitlin, it has a lot of oil in it, literally all you have to do is stir it up under first use. And like my Crazy Richards peanut butter that I have, after I stirred it up pretty good, I just keep it in my fridge. And if you want me to be honest with you, which I always am, it's the same texture as my Jif now that I keep it in the fridge. It's still that airy a little bit, and it's, to me, it's the most similar natural peanut butter to Jif in my opinion when it comes to taste. It's a little less sweet, but I like that, and you get used to it if you're kind of used to that natural peanut butter. Next is cottage cheese. So I added this on here. The reason being, just because you need to compare even store brand to your normal brands, I guess you should say, in a sense. Because if you're looking at this, Daisy cottage cheese, ingredients are cultured skim milk, cream, and salt. So looking at this, I'm like, yep, I know all of those things, and right, that's 3 ingredients that are all clean, minimally processed. I got this. If you look at Great Value, and Kroger is the same way with it being store brand. If you're already looking at these ingredients, right, the first ingredient being cultured non-fat milk, we got some cream, whey, salt, maltodextrin, guar gum, citric acid, carrageenan. If you remember, we actually talked about that one. That one's the one made from seaweed, possibly linked to some inflammation. Mono and diglycerides, locust bean gum, natural flavor, and etc. Right? There's a lot more ingredients in this store brand cottage cheese versus your Daisy. So sometimes the biggest thing I kind of say is just because it's cheaper, right, actually doesn't mean it's the same or that it's better. So I usually just say definitely even compare, right, brands together to kind of get the best option that works for you. I also added some dressings on here. These are all ranch dressings. So I put your typical Hidden Valley ranch on here. First ingredient being vegetable oil, right? Water, egg yolk, sugar, salt. So again, salt and sugar are pretty high up there in the ingredients. I'm not going to go through each one, right? Because we'd be here all day. But again, they even have some MSG in there, right? So that monosodium glutamate, artificial flavors, and so forth. So again, a lot more ingredients, and some of those things you're like, what? I don't know what those are. So again, something to avoid. Bolthouse classic ranch. So this is a yogurt dressing. So even looking at this, it does have some more things that we know, but it does still have some other things in here. But buttermilk being the first ingredient, a more common thing that you'd think to be the first ingredient to your yogurt. Dressing, sorry. Water, yogurt being the third ingredient, soybean oil, even pineapple juice concentrate. It does even have some xanthan and guar gum in there, so remember that's used as a thickener. It even does have some carrageenan, but that is the least food. That's the least amount in there because that's the last ingredient listed. And then Primal Kitchen, that's a brand that I definitely recommend because as you can see by these ingredients, pretty much all things that we know what they are. So the first ingredients to this Primal Kitchen is avocado oil. I got water, apple cider vinegar, distilled vinegar, cream of tartar, sea salt. So, I mean, it has eggs in there and a lot of your typical powders that we use with cooking. So I would recommend out of all of these comparing ingredients would actually probably be this Primal Ranch. So again, just being aware and reading more food ingredients to make the best choice for you guys. And I also added barbecue sauce. So even just looking at these two, Stubbs is a brand that I typically also recommend. Sweet Baby Ray's I added because I know it's a common one for most of us, but as you actually can see by the first ingredient, guess what? It's sugar. High fructose corn syrup is the first ingredient, which is sugar, and that's again the most abundant thing in that product. We got some caramel coloring in there, right? A lot of not so good things already in there. And then your Stubbs, tomato puree, right, being the first thing. Yes, there is sugar. There's sugar in your barbecue sauce and even your ketchup. But brown sugar, apple cider vinegar, molasses, again, more sugar, but water, corn, starch, salt, spices. When it comes to these two, the Stubbs would definitely be a better choice considering the ingredients. So again, the biggest thing I want you to get out of this is just reading the food labels and ingredients. So the bottom line, right, what do I do moving forward? So we talked again about food labels last week. So again, start reading the ingredients when you're looking at labels in the grocery store. To take control of your diet and check what is actually in your food, right? When I'm eating, I want to know what's in my food. Try cutting back on your processed packaged foods and incorporating more fresh ingredients into your diet to minimize that intake of those food additives. And again, what I kind of mentioned before, but typically stay in that 5 to 10 ingredient amount, most often with ingredients you know and understand. It's just a general rule. And then take your time in the store. I know that I put this in capitalization for a reason, but read nutrition labels and ingredients. So yes, to get started, it may take you a little bit longer in the store, but I'm telling you, it'll be worth it in the long run, not only to provide the best nutritious meals for you, but also your family, right? So just getting in the habit and reading those ingredients, okay? So that's about all I have for today's lesson. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out or email me. I am here as a resource. Again, there's way more ingredients in foods, but I just wanted to touch base on more of the common ones today. So again, just let me know, and I'm here for you. Thank you for listening.